So, today, A Gracious Bay's Fall, the last reading, day 50. Your child needs you. Your child needs you, not a scope and sequence, not tests, not assignments. You brought your child home to opt out of a system of cups and pounds, inches and altitudes, teaspoons and liters. Your child grows, whether you help or not, whether you interfere or guide, support or neglect. Measuring growth doesn't cause growth. Sometimes all it does is cause unhelpful worry. Growing is the job of children. To get tall, to acquire language, to peer into an intriguing world, to sprout beards or body curves. Your kids will read better, calculate more easily, handwrite with less effort, produce quality insights more frequently, and show curiosity about the fascinating ideas and activities they discover along the way to becoming 20. Because that's what human beings do. This all happens while they sleep and when they wake, and while they bump along, doing what they're told, doing what they do when no one's watching, doing what they love, and resenting what they hate. Sometimes they grow a quarter inch in an entire year. That was me in 6th grade. Sometimes they grow 6 inches in 12 months. That was me in 11th grade. Sometimes they can't read, and then they read at age 7 or 10 or 4. Sometimes they tell you they hate grammar, and then they major in linguistics in college. You can't stop the growth, even with lightning or flash freezing or wishing they would stay young, adorable, innocent, and easy a little longer. You can't make it happen faster by forcing a program that is more advanced or requiring more or worrying and hand-wringing. Your kids need you, though. They need you to be amazed by their leaps and bounds, their first steps and their first essays. They need space to get it and new ideas to help when they don't. They need your confidence that they are doing just fine, that they will get there wherever there is. They need your investment of money for lessons, of patience for their challenges, of heart when they must be brave. They need your faith that the work you do together is enough, that you can't stop them from being the fabulous people they are destined to be, even if you tried. They will grow, and all you can do is jump in the passenger seat, open the sunroof, turn up the radio on this joyride. Homeschool allows everyone to grow at the only pace they can, theirs. Homeschool allows you to be present to who they are today, rather than worrying about who school says they should have been by now. What a privilege. Quote of the day. Thanks, I needed that. I am in the 4th month of homeschooling my 9-year-old. Pulling him out of public school in Manhattan was a no-brainer, as it just continued on its relentless course of teaching to a test. He is singing and humming now, and that hasn't happened in years. David Riccieri. Sustaining thought. You are essential to your homeschool more than any curricula. Becoming the best you possible is your greatest gift to your children. So homeschool. It's the opportunity to allow your children to be who they are and to grow at the rate that is appropriate to them. That's it. They are going to become adults, whether you neglect them or cheerlead them. So let's cheerlead them. They need to master skills, absolutely, and it is your responsibility, the one you have gladly taken on, to help them get there, to make sure they have those skills. But they do not get there just because you wring your hands, worry, yell, feel pressure. I had a conversation yesterday with a mom who called me who was just recently new to homeschooling. She had pulled her 7th grade son out of school, and she worried that she wasn't keeping pace with what the school had done. And it was my joy to tell her, "Psst, you took him out of school. You don't have to worry about that anymore. That part of your life story is over. The new life story for you isn't looking over your shoulder at what the school is doing or was doing. It's to look at your child and to give your child what they couldn't get in school, your personal devoted attention. You get to pay attention. You get to notice the nuances, the tweaks, the personality that benefits from just that special care." Someone yesterday was asking about their daughter who's a twin who's having a hard time getting her work done, and the other twin is getting it done quickly. And you know, it hit me. In school, we're just a bunch of twins. There are 25 twins in the classroom. Everyone is treated the same at the whole time, the whole way through. The same assignment, the same required due date, the same test for that material. And it was my pleasure to tell this mom, maybe your daughter who's a twin, who's used to being a double, just wants to be an individual. She wants a little alone time with you, something tailor-made and custom to her. And isn't that why we homeschool? Isn't that why we pull them out of a system of twins where all 25 kids are expected to read at the same time, are expected to get it about Algebra 1, are expected to care about the Revolutionary War during the same month? Isn't that what's different about homeschool? That you could have one child who really excels and is interested in the Revolutionary War, and another child who really isn't, who really wants to just focus on birding for this month, and both could be happening simultaneously, successfully, with your admiration, with supplies for those kids. And sure, the Revolutionary War kid is going to overhear the kid who's obsessed with the bird feeder. And sure, the bird feeder watching child is going to hear Johnny Tremaine when you read it aloud. And there's going to be this beautiful intersection of tailor-made homeschool education that creates a family culture of memories around shared learning that is both narrow and specific to an individual and yet general and inclusive to the family. Isn't that the unique contribution we can make to the story of education? The power of personalization, the shared overlap, the eavesdropping on someone else's passion, the not having to do everything the same as everybody else. That education isn't school, it's growth. You know, someone asked me, they called the other day, I've been getting a ton of phone calls lately. You know, we have the ramp up to spring class registration, which is Monday. And so my phone just starts ringing off the hook and I get all of these phone messages. And so there've been a bunch about our class system. And one mom asked me, well, I am worried about putting my daughter in your class because she doesn't like being graded. And she doesn't want her papers to be read because she's afraid of being graded. I said, oh, welcome to Brave Writer, we don't grade. She's like, you don't grade? I said, no. We give the option of grades in high school, but you can completely opt out because, frankly, we don't really believe in grades. We believe in growth. We don't believe in grades. We believe in growth. And what you can know by the end of one of our classes is your child will have experienced growth in writing. And we will have put all our energy into seeing progress, not into evaluating how well they lived up to our ideals and standards. Isn't that what grades do? They say, here's my ideal and standard. This is what you need to hit to get this A. And so your kids go into this system where they're being measured against each other and measured against a standard. And then they get a grade that attaches to them, that it evaluates how well they met that standard. But is that growth? Does that tell us that a student has actually improved? No. All it tells us is that compared to the standard, they only got this far. A growth model says, I don't have a standard up here. What I have is you where you are right now. And we're going to do something that moves you from here to here. And it may go to here. But right now, I'm just focused on you experiencing your own development. You paying attention and noticing, wow, last month the cursive R was really difficult for me to handwrite, and this month I'm doing it pretty easily. Isn't that better than last month getting a C on the cursive R? Why would you get a C? You just made the cursive R and it's hard for you. Now this month it's easier for you because you've practiced it. Well done. Now the cursive R is in your toolbox of handwriting. Woohoo! Right? I mean, the goal isn't a grade, it's the utility of the thing that you are learning about. When we studied the history of Japan years ago, I have 5 kids, for those of you who don't know me. They are all now adults. And there was a year where we really got into studying the story of Japan. We read all kinds of books. We had a Japanese tea party with tempura that we made from scratch. You know, we made the flag of Japan. We watched Japanese movies. We did a whole unit on World War II. And this spanned a couple of years. It wasn't just a month unit study. We kept coming back to Japan over and over. In fact, I was paging through my photo albums from those years with the kids over Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh my gosh, we studied Japan all the way back there. And it didn't really end until we were in Ohio. Like from California to Ohio, that's a span of several years. We just kept coming back to it. So anyway, there was a moment where we had read The Master Puppeteer. We had read something about the, colonization of Japan. And suddenly, I knew my kids were steeped in Japan. We had tried using paintbrushes to do their hiragana, one of their lettering systems. Did you know they have 3? I mean, how smart are they? They have 3 lettering systems. 3 alphabets. Anyway, I realized my kids know a lot about Japan. I wonder how much they know. I wonder how much they know. Not, I wonder if they know what I hope they know, but I wonder how much they know. I wonder what they're retaining. So we got up in the morning, and the 3 older kids were old enough to really free write. The younger 2 weren't. So I did it orally with the younger 2. But with the older 3, I set the timer for 20 minutes. And I said, here's what we're going to do. For 20 minutes, we're going to pretend that you are doing an exam, like a writing piece that is going to tell me everything you know about Japan. There will be no grades. I have no expected outcome. I just want you to impress yourself by remembering everything you can about Japan. And before we start, we're going to review. So here's what we did. This is what our review looked like. I said, all right, somebody tell me what books we read during all these years of Focus on Japan. And they start remembering, Master Puppeteer, that one that's got the sun and the boat on it. Oh yeah, I know which one that is. I'm like, go to the bookshelves, get those books. So they went and they start pulling off books off the bookshelf, and they're like, oh my God, here's another one. And we bring them out and we put them on the table. And then I'm like, well, where is Japan? Does anyone know where it is on the globe? Yes. Okay, go get the globe. So they go and they grab the globe that we kept on top of the bookcase, and they brought it to the table, and we spun the globe, and we found Japan. And we even found Okinawa, right? Like, we found it. And we angled the globe so you could see Japan. Said, all right, who knows what the flag looks like? So then we drew a picture of the flag. And then we got some chopsticks. And then we made a big long list of all the foods we ate. And we wrote down the names of all the historical figures we could remember. We just made a big long list. And we put all of this stuff on the table. And then I said, timer is set for 20 minutes. Just write about Japan. And if you get stuck, just turn to the next thing on the list. Open the book and remind yourself. Go through the list. Look at the map. Think about the flag. Like, bring back the memories. Here's a picture of us having that Japanese tempura meal. You could describe that. Describe anything related to Japan. And if Japan pops out of your mind and something else pops in, write about that for a moment and then go back to Japan. And if you get stuck, you can write, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. But just go. and we hit the button, and do you know they were still writing 20 minutes later? They were still writing. And I watched them. When they got stuck, they just pulled out the list. They started paging through the book. They looked at the globe. They were actually reminding themselves of everything they knew. And when they got done, this sense of pride and accomplishment that went with that journey, reminding themselves of everything they knew, it was awesome. It was awesome. I liked it so much, we kept doing stuff like that. We did oral reports because I read Charlotte Mason did oral reports, and I had done them in France as an exchange student, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. My kids will love this. So I took, and the way we did it in France is that they would put topics into a hat. Believe me, they actually did this, into a bowl, a hat, and you would reach in and pull out two and go into the hall and prepare. And you got to decide between the two topics. And then you go back in for a one-on-one audience with your professor, and she just listens to you monologue, telling everything you know about that topic. And then she scores you. Well, what I told my kids is, we're going to do that around all these different subjects. I'm going to put a bunch of choices in a hat, and you can just pull out until you find one you like. I didn't require them to just choose between two because these are children. This is homeschool. I'm not testing them. So they're like looking at them, and then they pick the one they want. Private audience with me. Back then, a little digital recorder. You could use your phone. And I hold up the digital recorder and I say, tell me everything you know about Robert Louis Stevenson's poetry, because maybe we had read a lot of his poems. Or tell me everything you know about bird watching. And I am not kidding you. They love this. Because you're recording them. It's very official. And they get to be this smart expert for 5 minutes. And those recordings you can listen to again. They can hear their own brilliance played back to them. They can hear their own summoning of all those resources. And when they get lost or momentarily confused or can't remember, well, this isn't a test. You get to prompt them with a question. Or you can remind them, well, what about that time we took the nature hike? Do you remember the bird we saw that time? I'm thinking, oh, it had red feathers. Do you remember that? So when people ask me things like, do you grade? What about tests? How do you know my child is making progress? Well, find out. Don't worry about grades. Worry about growth. Give them the opportunity to demonstrate to you all that they've been processing, all that they've been thinking about. And you can show that devotion and pride by giving them a private audience or supporting the journey of sharing. It's not a test. Do you know childhood is not a test? Let's just pause and think about that. Childhood isn't a test. There's no test. There's no moment where childhood is suddenly you failed. You don't get out. You don't get to be an adult. Didn't pass that test. There was a test. Oops, you weren't ready. That doesn't exist. Some of us sometimes make the mistake of thinking college admissions is the thumbs up or thumbs down on childhood. It's not. You don't even have to go to college. Apparently, according to Noah, you can be a computer programmer without completing college. College is not the referendum on your homeschool. The referendum on your homeschool is whether or not you and your children connected around their growth for however many years you keep them with you. And your responsibility is to expose them to this big feast of ideas, to keep putting things in front of them they don't know about because they're too young, because they don't know. But you know, so you can say, did you know that there is a story here of what the British Empire colonialized, and that's part of the immigration story of today? You can say, did you know there's a story here around the way language hangs together, that every single language is structured in a different sequence? Did you know that? That's what we call grammar. And people hate grammar for some reason, but you know, it's actually just the story of language, and we can just look at it and sort of enjoy it like a painting. I don't care if you master how to diagram sentences. I am interested in you appreciating the journey, the story of language, how it got going, why it evolved, how the story of our language came to us, why we include words from other languages. Did you know, for example, that some languages resequence the words? They start with the verb and then they say the pronoun, or they start with the object and they end with the pronoun. Or in some languages like German, they jam all the words together to make one big cluster word, right? Like, approach learning that way, because that's the opportunity. School doesn't treat it that way. They're like, there's this material you have to get through, and you have to prove you've gotten through it by taking a test to show me that you cared enough to pay attention. Why did they do that? Because nobody would pay attention in school. It's tiring. Don't you remember looking at the clock behind you and being like, I see the second hand going by. It only needs to go by 3 more times and I can get out of here? Do you not remember that? This is why they make you do tests, because they know you want to get out of that seat, and yet they have to require you to pay attention. You don't have to do that at home. You can, I'm like trying to put my feet up. You can put your feet up. You can be like, hey, we're studying science and I really don't like science, so I don't know why. How can we make this more interesting? Could you just be honest? Could you say this to your children at home? You know what? I feel pressure that we must fill in the blank, study complicated algebraic equations, and I never mastered them, and I'm a little embarrassed. And I don't know how we're going to solve this, because I think you need it to go to college, but I really don't know how to teach it. And I'm not sure why it's important. So I'm not just going to buy a book. I'm going to go find someone who thinks algebraic equations are the cat's meow. And we're going to triangle in her enthusiasm, because I ain't got it like that. What if we were honest? What if we brought our children into the educational journey and didn't treat homeschool like something we were doing to them that they weren't cooperating with? The most popular phone call I get, the most common comment I get on the phone, in the Homeschool Alliance, on Facebook, is this: I don't know how to get my child to fill in the blank. She doesn't want to fill in the blank. He won't do the assignment. He isn't willing. He tells me he hates it. If that's happening in your homeschool, then you have not brought them home. You got to bring them all the way home. You're still in an adversarial role if they hate what you're doing together. And I understand that there are some subjects that you're not going to do a tap dance for, that won't get the brownies, that are just lunch, just churning it out. So then you've got to get creative in a different way. You have to address the truth of your circumstance. All right, you don't love this subject, and I still am not free enough to trust that you can get by without it. How do we solve that? How do we solve that? Is it better if we do it first thing in the morning? Is it better if we take it to Barnes & Noble and sit in a coffee house? Is it better if I hire a tutor? Is it better if we don't do it this year and we come back to it? Is it better if you just do it all for one day and no other subject? You got to get creative. Come all the way home. You're at home. Your child isn't required to do an hour of math every single morning at 9. You get to think about how that happens. And if your child is miserable, it is not their job to get unmiserable to make your life easier. Flip the script. It's your job to get more in touch with that child so that that child actually can be successful and grow. Got it? And it's going to be different child to child, subject to subject, year to year. If your child is feeling that strain, then something is going against the grain. And it's up to you to be the detective. I call it Detective Mom. In fact, there is a chapter in the Writer's Jungle. The subhead is Detective Mom, because that's the privilege of homeschool. You get to pay better attention than a teacher can. You live with these children. They came out of your body, or you paid thousands of dollars for the privilege of raising them. They're yours. They are that person that you wouldn't bear to give to someone else to raise. So you want to spend time being a detective. And guess what? You have my complete permission to take some time. If math isn't working, why wouldn't you stop for a while? You could even say to your child, math doesn't seem to be working. We fight every day. I'm tired of fighting. The math book, I'm sorry, I'm putting it on the top shelf. You are not allowed to get it down. I need to do some rethinking about what math looks like in our homeschool. Would you also go away and play Minecraft for a while? And in your free time, would you let me know if you've had any thoughts about math? In fact, you know what would help me? Tell me if math is showing up in your life. I'd be curious, do you ever use math? Is there ever a moment where you find yourself spontaneously calculating or solving a puzzle or a problem? Because maybe I'm not paying good enough attention. I wonder if math's already happening in your life. Let me know. I'm going to just ignore it, though. We're going to take a break. I'm going to go powwow with all those ladies I talked to online. And I'm going to talk to, our good friend Ingwan, who's a math whiz. Let's regroup. And let's not do it for a while. And it's on the top shelf. You're not even allowed to get it down. Go play Minecraft. Would that shift the energy in your family around math for a little while? Would that give you the break you need? Can you give yourself permission to let what's not working go, to make space for something new? I remember saying to Liam, because he was this very interested video gamer. In fact, the other day he was home and he said, I video gamed for 12 years of my life. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, that's a long time that he video gamed for 12 years. And I was remembering the first time I started showing him multiplication tables, he already knew them. I never taught him. He didn't know they were called multiplication tables, but he had been calculating the percentages of his life in online gamings because it mattered to know it to win the game. So when I brought in this whole notion of 3 times 3, the structure of that he didn't know. But once I started showing him what multiplication tables were, he knew them. We never studied them. I didn't know he knew. I'm like, well, what else are you holding out on me? What else do you know about math that I don't know that you know? Turned out a lot. He was a big chess player. He's fantastic at strategy. He's amazing at problem solving. And literally, percentages, fractions, multiplying and dividing, literally didn't teach him. I mean, we had books. He did those pages. But he learned that stuff because it was important to his gaming life. Now, I'm not promising you that if you let your kids game for 8 hours a day, they're going to learn that stuff automatically. I'm just telling you his story. That's a story that was happening under my nose that I did not see. Benefit from it. Be better than I was. Do better than I did. Pay better attention. Ask better questions. See what I mean? I put all this work into teaching grammar. I did the Winston grammar program with my kids. And then Noah went off and got interested in Klingon. He learned grammar better by studying Klingon than he ever did from Winston grammar. He got so into language and grammar that he went into linguistics his first time in college. And do you know what his phone call to me was 2 months in? Can you mail me Winston grammar? I want to see if this would help me because I want to make sure I understand the structure of English. I sent it to him. He calls me back. Oh no, I'm way beyond that. I didn't realize how far I had gotten. I was thinking this might tell me something I didn't know. I guess I'm going to get what I didn't know in college. See how that works? See how that works? And the truth is, Noah didn't even stay in linguistics. That was actually a passing love, a passion. He majored in his passion. He did none of the general ed because he hated it, and he quit college. And then he took several years to figure out what he really wanted. which turned out to be computer programming. And he started programming more and more and more in his free time until he finally went back to college and got a programming job, and he's doing both at the same time now. What do you know? What do you know? I could have mistaken things. I could have assumed that he was supposed to get his PhD in linguistics. You just don't know. I consider that financial investment that he only did 2 years of college for, where he did just linguistics, fabulous. Because it turned out that for Noah, college isn't about degrees. It was an advanced opportunity to explore an interest in depth. Is that a good use of money? Your family gets to decide. It was in our family. You get to decide these things. So let's go back now to my original thesis of this little episode. Your kids are at home. They are not at school. And who they need more than anything is you. Not grades, not curriculum, not scope and sequence, not measuring them by grade level, not finishing the demands of the program, not comparing them to other kids who are homeschooled as well, not comparing them within your own family, not even assuming that two kids the same age, same grade, should have the same education. At home, the chief gift your children have is you. And what you bring to the table is devotion, love, and paying attention, detection, the ability to see who they are in detail in a way no one else cares about. And as you give yourself permission to be the student of your children, the student of your students, you will be able to bring them all the way home, where their education will look unique and it will transcend what you thought they could get in another setting, because you will have given them a tailor-made education. And that, my friends, is the journey of homeschool. That is the huge benefit of it. Will you always homeschool your kids? Maybe not. I know people who've only homeschooled for 3 years, and that was the perfect amount for them. And then I know others who've homeschooled from kindergarten all the way through senior year of high school. That was Noah. I have a daughter who started high school as a freshman and did all 4 years. It will vary family to family. However much homeschooling you do, however, is an opportunity for a journey into that grade-free, test-free, tailor-made space. So take advantage of it. Use it well. And lay that foundation for self-directed learning so that your kids take that gift from their homeschooling experience into the rest of their adult lives. Okay? All right then. This has been wonderful. I will be back. We will do some Facebook Live chats. I'm going to do some in the afternoon between now and the end of the year so that our West Coast friends can join in live. I'll pick some dates, maybe send it out by email. If you would like to be on our emailing list, all you have to do is go to the homepage, bravewriter.com, and click on the Download Free Writing Lessons link. That will send you a 17-page guide of free writing lessons, and it will add you to our emailing list. So I invite you to do that if you haven't done it yet. Somebody is asking if it's okay for high schoolers to not test. It's not okay if they're in school. It's totally okay if they're at home. It's totally up to you. Testing is just a skill. And if you want your kids to learn that skill, you could do some tests, but how about treating it like it is? Hey, I want to teach you how to take a test. Not, I'm going to test you and then render judgment on whether or not you got everything right. Use the home environment to teach the skill of test taking, right? That's a good idea. And talk about it. Open book tests, closed book tests, tests where they prepare for weeks, tests where they only have a few minutes, filling in the Scantron bubble, the difference between an essay test and picking multiple choice. These are skills. I would teach that. I think that's valuable, very important. But do you test to prove something? No. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to let us all end now. Thank you, by the way, for your fun visit to our holiday store yesterday for Cyber Monday. The holiday shop is open until the end of the year. our Poetry Tea Time tea sold out. So we're ordering more. If you want this for a Christmas gift, we will have it in 10 days and we'll ship it to you, and you should easily have it before Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate, solstice, this time of year. So go ahead and go back and buy the tea because we ordered more just for you. Oh goodness, Bridget, that's adorable. But we are so glad that you were able to use yesterday to get the programs that you needed and to be a part of the Brave Writer lifestyle. I'm here to support you and help you and just be your companion on the journey. I look forward to our coming year, and for those of you who are joining us in the Alliance in January, I can't wait to get to know you personally. Stephanie Elms, our other coach, and I are having a lot of fun planning what that's going to be. So I look forward to seeing you in that community for a wonderful month of coaching. And until then, live honestly, write bravely, and pay attention to your children. Get to know them and give them the education that is tailor-made for them. That's your privilege. Bye, everybody.